So next, I want to set the context for why this training has come about, which will help inform kind of the way it gets shaped and the things it covers and possibly the things it doesn't cover. And it all started because I was noticing job ads for Agile jobs, Scrum jobs, things like that. And there were some really strange capitalizations in it. People were writing the word Scrum in all capitals, or they're writing Agile in all capitals, or Sprint in all capitals. And those words don't go in all capitals. They're not like Prince2, which stands for Projects in Controlled Environments 2. It's an acronym. Scrum and Agile and Sprint and Kanban and all that sort of stuff just aren't acronyms. So I thought that was a bit odd, and kind of got me thinking about, do recruiters fully understand some of this stuff? Because if they did, they wouldn't be using capitalizations in the way they're using them. I then kind of spoke to a few recruiters and was talking about this certification I've got, Certified Scrum Professional, which took loads of years of work and tons of effort and loads of background checks and all sorts of things. And no one had heard of it. And I was a bit like, oh, I've done a really good thing here and no one seems to know what it is. That's a shame. And just seemed a bit odd. And then I saw some people on LinkedIn kind of complaining about, oh, recruiters know nothing about Agile. And that's kind of when the penny dropped. So I was like, well, actually, maybe there is a knowledge gap here, and maybe it'd be amazing if we can fix it. Kind of, we have two options. We can sit around and complain about it, which is the easy option, doesn't really get anything done, or we could actually try and work with recruiters to fix it. So that's kind of where this all came from. So I set up a quick website called agileforrecruiters.com and initially just ran some very quick surveys. One aimed at Agile practitioners, Scrum Masters, product owners, business analysts, whatever they may be, to talk about their experiences with using recruiters and recruitment agencies in Agile and finding jobs in Agile. And then I did another survey for recruiters themselves to say, you know, what are you understanding here? What aren't you understanding here? And I got some really, really interesting data out of it. And kind of it showed that lots of people thought it was a problem. 90% of people thought there was a problem here. And if you look at how many people were satisfied and dissatisfied with using recruiters for finding jobs in Agile, actually 2/3 were dissatisfied or very dissatisfied, and 1/4 were very dissatisfied. And that's a really big stat. You've got 2/3 of people kind of unhappy about it. That's really significant, and I'd really love to shift the dial on that. I'd really love this training to start helping recruiters improve the way they handle Agile jobs and Agile recruitment, and help the Agile community just be more satisfied with recruiters and help people work together better, because fundamentally that's what Agile's all about. We should be looking to fix this problem in an Agile way. And I just want to share with you some of the initial thoughts on what practitioners were saying about some of this stuff, because they had some options to write in some free text verbatim answers in various parts of the survey, and got some really, really interesting, illuminating stuff out of it, which I'll be coming back to throughout this training course. But initially, I just want to share some sort of initial thoughts of what people were saying. So some of them were around how practitioners could find or how recruiters could find the best candidates. Someone said they should have some specialised knowledge of the skill set to reach and filter the right candidate from a pool. And that's especially true if Agile is very different from traditional roles. One person said, Agile is more cultural and human than a functional process. Finding cultural fit and empathetic individuals is important. You can't recruit for these roles in the same way you would, for example, traditional project management. And also people were saying that if recruiters hire the wrong people or the wrong people end up in jobs, then Agile transformations kind of fail. And one person said, the movement of many businesses to a knowledge worker base demands a mindset shift away from command and control behaviours and organisational models. Recruiters and HR professionals need to be able to lead in this area, helping the old guard to shift to a more Agile lean model, not just filling seats with warm bodies. So I think some of the things that have come out of this survey are showing that actually the way recruitment is at the moment is set up for kind of a different world from what Agile is. Agile is all about collaboration and communication and culture and fluffy kind of shades of grey stuff, when sometimes recruitment processes are very black and white. Give me an example of a time when you have, and you score that person 1 to 5, and the person that gets the biggest score wins and gets the job, which is kind of different really from some of the Agile approaches that might work. And there are kind of two fundamental benefits in this. One obviously is the Agile community. If recruiters can work with them better together, we can get the right people into the right jobs and Agile will grow, and that just grows the opportunity for everyone else. And it also really helps recruiters, I think, because if you can demonstrate as a recruiter that you really understand Agile, you'll attract a lot better candidates. You'll have a lot better conversations with candidates about this sort of stuff. And you'll start to become the recruiter who people go to because you generally find good people and put the right people in the right jobs, and the people you place in jobs do really well and the clients come back for more. It's kind of a win-win for everyone. And conversely, if you make the subtle errors that are really easy to avoid, like putting Scrum in capital letters, you're going to put off some really good candidates who are going to look at it and go, they don't know what they're talking about. In fact, one person said in the practitioner responses, they quite like the fact that recruiters sometimes put Scrum in capital letters because it's a great way of filtering out the recruiters they don't want to work with. They just go, well, they clearly don't know what they're talking about, so I'm not going to work with them, and it kind of filters that out for them. But I think that's a real shame. We should be getting more recruiters involved in this sort of stuff. And I think there are other two advantages for recruiters. One is kind of expanding into new markets. As we'll look at throughout this course, Agile is seen as a software development thing, and obviously it has very strong roots in the world of software development and very strong background in it, and some of the Agile frameworks are actually very tailored specifically to software development. But it doesn't just work in software development, it works in lots of different areas as long as they've got certain kind of environmental conditions. And once you can spot those environmental conditions, you can start to see where Agile would actually work really well. And where that's the case, there are likely to be organisations starting to pick up on Agile, either consciously or unconsciously. And those are markets you can start tapping into. You can start saying, well, I find great Agile candidates. This particular market sector clearly needs Agile, so I'm going to try and tap that market sector before anyone else gets here. I think as a recruiter that'd be a really interesting thing to do. And I'll come back to this right at the end, but one really interesting thing I think Agile might suggest about recruitment is that actually it shouldn't be such a cutthroat kind of race to find clients. I've heard from some recruiters that a client phones up and says, you know, I need a person for this, and they just have to be the first to get some CVs back to them within a couple of hours, or another recruiter will come in and take that opportunity, and it's all very, very cutthroat. And actually in an Agile approach, would it be better if clients started working just with one recruiter and kind of synergized with them a lot more and collaborated with them a lot more and kind of had a lot more trust on both sides, rather than just saying, well, it's a bit of a race and the first person to get there kind of wins. And I'm not saying that happens in every recruitment situation by any means. I'm sure there are recruiters who have clients they work with over a long period of time and build great trusted relationships with. But again, I think that's a real benefit. If you really understood Agile, potentially you could start running Agile in your own organizations to a greater or lesser degree, or at least applying that Agile mindset and getting all the great benefits that the people in the Agile community have been enjoying from it for years now, really.